All right, good evening, guys. Thank you for joining us at our post-SPM series number 5 with a lot of demand from a lot of the participants. We had a scholars talk last Thursday, and I think there was a lot of them that asked for more such sessions, more sharing and more to give an idea of what's like to be a scholar and the careers that comes with it. So here we are together at 8:30 on the 6th of May, sharing this post-SPM series. And we have with us 3 speakers, all 3 are scholars. And today we'll do a bit of a different type of a session. Instead of it being very formal, we'll treat it more of a discussion. We'll treat it more of a sharing session, as all 3 of them are already currently working. So they will be able to share with you their insights on their application process, their experience as a scholar, and their current career. So we've got 3 speakers. Number 1, we've got Dr. Nisha. She's joined us as a medical doctor. She's a JPA scholar, who did medicine in UNIMAS. She's also the current Miss Earth Malaysia 2020 and 2021. So it's an honor to have her come speak and share her story. We have Mr. Keshminder Singh, who is a Sime Darby scholar. I think, yeah, Mr. Cash is waving. Yes, that's Cash. He's a Sime Darby scholar who did his degree in economics from the University of Warwick in the UK. And is currently working as an internal auditor of Sime Darby Plantation. And Sabrina is, in short, I call her Sab. She's a Bank Negara scholar. She studied at Penn State University in the US, doing a degree in industrial engineering. And she's currently a banking supervisor at Bank Negara, Malaysia. So before we start the sharing session, I would like to just inform everyone that we have the chat room going. So feel free to share your questions, ask or share your experience, whatever you want to do, use the chat room. We will come to it after each speaker. And we may be able to slide in a question or 2 for each speaker to discuss on. Before that, let me just share a bit about BIMBING. BIMBING is this initiative that a group of young Malaysians have decided to take it upon themselves to try to share and guide students and people of Malaysians of all ages through guidance, through educational guidance and the career guidance. So it's just a group of young Malaysians, and we want to share with people from all backgrounds, all races, all ages. Doesn't matter your religion, your gender, your disability. So that's the gist about BIMBING. BIMBING will be at the end of the slides. BIMBING will share a bit about their contact details and their needs, because they're looking for volunteers as well to help guide and share educational and career sharing to all Malaysians. Okay, with that, we will start with our first speaker, Sabrina Sabri. As mentioned earlier, she's a Bank Negara scholar. I think she will share which year she became a scholar, and she did her industrial engineering at Penn State University. And she's been a banking supervisor with Bank Negara Malaysia for the last couple of years. The floor is yours, Sab.
Thank you, Simran. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Sabrina Sabri, as introduced by our MC. So, if you can see here in the first page also, we have a clash. Right, I studied engineering, I work in a bank. What happened? So I will tell you guys what happened in between. And if you guys have any question, just drop it. I'll try to answer. Next slide, Sim. Sim, next slide, please. All right, thank you. Okay, This is, we say, a Pictionary or a summary of my journey from being a scholar to college to graduation and to career. If you guys know, okay, one of my biggest passion is friendship and, you know, network and everything. So when I got into college, what I do is I try to bond quickly. So I joined a lot of we see associations. Right now I have my fraternity is Alpha Phi Omega. This is my Masa family. This is where I met our lovely speaker. We were from the same university, and I joined debate teams in US also, and also I joined soup kitchen to blend in with the community there. So after graduation, because I was a Bank Negara scholar, the way to pay back the scholarship is to work with them. So it's a 10 years bond. No worries, I'll explain to you guys later. So I'm on my 9th year right now, only 1 year to go, and I'm planning to stay. So in the Bank Negara. Okay, it started with my onboarding with my batch, I would say, the one graduated in 2012. So this is all us. And ever since that, I've been working as a bank supervisor. I do inspection on bank, like internal auditor, but we do outside of our organization, we do at the banks. And also my love to the community, I joined BNM volleyball team. So this is my lovely team. We fight a good battle, a lot of good battle. I enjoyed it so much. And this is my BNM family. All right, all in all, it was a great journey. I'm blessed. I would say my turning point is after I get my scholarship. So you guys still have time. Whatever you did before, if you think that, oh, my PMR was not nice, my high school experience was not nice, it's okay. My turnaround time was after SPM. So after SPM was my best years, and you guys are not too late to do it. All right, Sim, next slide. Okay, this is how I'm going to tell my story, right? I have each stages of my life on how I got my sponsorship, how I got into school, and the stages in my life, there is an idiom I kind of associate with it. So maybe you guys can have these two, find what describe most of your time, most of your journey into an idiom, because it will pack nicely. You will learn something from it. Okay, the first one. I was from a small town in Kedah. I bet none of you, how many of us now? 37 of us. I bet none of you know where Kuala Nerang Kedah is. Does anyone know? Can anyone share in the chat room? Kalau tahulah, if no, then I made my point. It was a very small town. I was there sampai Form 3. I would say nobody, but oh, you know, great. Oh, Sungai Petani, awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so in that stage of my life, I think when there's a will, there's a way. You know why? Because I think in Kedah, there's not much facility you can get. Time to internet also don't have. I'm a very old soul. I'm now 32 years old. So far get from you guys. So at that time, we don't have Facebook. We don't have anything. So for me to explore, to get motivated, I only motivate myself. And I go with friends. I go with my teachers. So believe me, from a small town, you can get Bank Negara scholarship as well. Or any scholarship you want, by the way. Okay, so in PMR, okay, for UPSR, I get four A's and 1 B. So I did not qualify to get any school because, only boarding school because it wasn't enough, I guess, 4 A's and 1 B. So I continued to study in Kuala Nerang, Kedah until I was Form 3. And at Form 3, I said to myself, don't screw this up, Sabrina, you can do it. So I got my 8 A's and I entered Sekolah Seri Puteri Cyberjaya. So it's a boarding school. In Seri Puteri, I go back to square one because all the years that I've spent building the brand, who is Sabrina, I'm into debate, I'm into Syarahan, I'm into like all this organization I'm in. When I go to Seri Puteri, I was nobody. I start back at square one. I remember crying to my cikgu, PKM, they don't have pengakap because Sekolah Seri Puteri was all girls school. to have pengakap. What I did, I take matters to my own hand. I see her, I want to be a pengakap diraja, I say. Who's here pengakap diraja? Is there such thing orang buat kat sini to join co-curriculum buat sampai pengakap diraja, right? So from here, I learned how to organize myself, how to go for the goal, and I managed to do it. So here, I'm pretty proud of what I did in Sekolah Seri Puteri. And also people will say, oh, you dapat scholarship Bank Negara through Seri Puteri. So I'm pretty privileged. I admit I was privileged because Seri Puteri has a connection, but I did work. If we are privileged or not, the most important thing is the hard work that you put in. The teachers would see it. Okay, next, 2007. This is where I received my scholarship from Bank Negara. It was unique. Okay. How I apply to my scholarship, I use my SPM trial result actually. So we have SBP trial result. I'm not sure whether Sekolah Harian, you guys got trial result also, right? Trial SPM. Can I get a response? Trial SPM, do you guys have it or not? Yes, okay, awesome. See, trial meaning you are cuba to do the real thing, but don't think it trial je. No, thinking as this is trial. I have to see whether I'm prepared or not for the real thing. So that's what I did in Seri Puteri. I aced my trial. Actually, my trial was way better than my actual SPM result. I got 10 A1 in my trial, and I got 8 A1, 1 A2, and 1 B3 in my real SPM result actually. So during my trial result, I am eligible to apply to few scholarship. I did Bank Negara, Khazanah, and also Petronas. I went to EduCamp. Petronas rejected me. They don't like me. Sad. But Bank Negara took me in. And again, I would say in Petronas, the EduCamp was a bit tough on me because I wasn't prepared. That's all I can say. I don't want to make any excuses. I wasn't prepared. But for Bank Negara, I prepared a lot, and evidently I can do it. All right, next, 2008, I enrolled into Pennsylvania State University, Penn State. And here is the world is your oyster. World is my oyster. I joined every single organization that I want to join. I can go free roaming to other places that I want. I go to East Coast, West Coast. I do barista job, buat duit while making coffee at Starbucks. So when I get money, I travel to Europe, and it was just the best 4 years of my life. All right, next, I come back to Bank Negara. Bank Negara, we have to do an interview. Okay, but for Bank Negara, they have this minimum GPA that you need to maintain in order to have that scholarship. So let's say, I think any scholarship also like that, Khazanah, PNB, MARA, JPA, but the limit is different lah. So for Bank Negara, if you fall below the grade, your scholarship become a loan, and you balik, you work with Bank Negara, you have to pay 1,000 every month. 1,000, not like MARA. MARA usually lower. MARA, if anyone from MARA here, can you guys confirm? MARA, if I'm not mistaken, is only like 200 per month you kena bayar after you kerja. So Bank Negara is two ways. Satu, you kerja with Bank Negara. Kedua, you kerja but you have to pay 1,000 ringgit every month to pay. So I study just enough to reach that minimum, and I enjoy myself there. Okay. And when I work in Bank Negara, the idiom was all work, no play, make Jake a dull boy. Here, I learn a lot, and I struggle with work-life balance. I think during SPM also, you guys need to have work-life balance, or I would say study-life balance. Don't study until dari pagi sampai malam, you don't play, you don't have hobby, you don't go see your people, you don't go see your community. So when you have that, you have balance, and your mind also will be stimulated when you have a lot of discussion, a lot of talks with your friend. It doesn't mean you have to talk about ilmiah punya notes every time. You can also talk about something that make you happy. When your serotonin and when your hormones all go, you feel better. When you feel better, you feel more motivated to excel in your study. So here it can be applied anywhere. So during my time, I had a burnout. I think all working adults here can testify to it. Whether you takut deadline, you work too hard and you tak fikir apa dah, nak kerja je. So no, take your time, pergi gym, pergi main. That's all I say. Now, last year, 2020, I was seconded. Seconded meaning I was dipinjamkan lah to AKPK, Agency Counseling Perusahaan Kredit. So here, I would say whatever floats your boat. The workload in AKPK actually is better. I'm not really stressed. It's actually way chill, I would say. Work from home right now, so I still got time to cook for my husband and all, but I feel like the work satisfaction is better in Bank Negara. So I'm really looking forward to go back to Bank Negara and work my most of my time there. But I will keep in mind to do work-life balance. Okay. Any question from my experience on a scholarship, on a work interview? You can just write it in the chat room. I'll get it later. Okay. Oh, okay. There is a question about how long of your secondment. Secondment is only 1 year, from last year, September 2020 until this year, September 2021. What I do here is AKPK is actually helping people, like individual, to restructure their loan. But right now, we come into AKPK to set up restructuring loan for SME, for syarikat pula. So that's what I'm doing here. My job is almost done and I have 4 more months to go. So yeah. All right, next slide, please. Okay, this is my last slide for tonight. People usually give you tips what to do during interview, correct? I'm here to tell you what not to do. What not to do is, it's most important because you always remember, kena buat. Yang tak buat tu, yang tak boleh buat, kita buat. Alright. So, number 1, you do not forget your posture and physical appearance because we create branding on first impression. You might prepare, baca all the information on your scholar, your potential scholar or your potential employer. You may read it all. You may bring all your file, all your answer, but if you come in slouching, looking not confident, if you come wearing bright pink or bright lime green, you will also give an impression to your interviewer. So first, do not forget your posture, exert confidence, say that I'm worthy of this scholarship, of this work, and physical appearance. Go dress monochrome, baju monochrome, baju warna tone down. Like me, I pakai the very bright blue, but I tone it down with a very light tudung. So all this, you guys are privileged. All these are at the tip of your finger. You can just Google. So just Google, prepare for your intellectual knowledge and also prepare for your appearance. Like this come hand to hand. Okay, next one. Don't over-promise and oversell yourself. We have limits and weakness. This is why I always tell my friends, my family, you want to say you're good, but it's good also to acknowledge your weakness. I usually during interview, I would say one of my weaknesses is I'm careless. And I'm willing to spend an extra 30 minutes to proofread whatever I read. I'm willing to acknowledge that, okay, I have careless problem. So I double check, triple check kerja I triple check kerja orang, and that become my strength. In groups, in group work, in my work, usually people send proofreading to me. I become an expert in proofreading regardless of being careless. So that's how your weakness, acknowledging, knowing your weakness and work about it is the most important thing. Second, don't be a parrot. You are your unique individual. What I mean by parrots? You nak kerja Petronas, you Google what is Petronas. Petronas is a company, drilling company, let's say. You read or you say back what you read, you hafal the thing. No. What you can do is say it using your own words, relate it to your life, or make a metaphor. Actually, scholarships or employer look at these qualities, like how do you present yourself, how do you understand and bring it forward, like how do you keluarkan daripada diri you. Don't be a parrot. That's what important. I remember going interview with some people who read textbook what Bank Negara. So I terus terang saya say I don't know what Bank Negara do besides this. See, I acknowledge my weakness, but I offer what I can do. Fourth is don't be a conformist of a yes man. We have different value and thought process. This one usually in interview, usually we have single interview and we have group interview. Okay, group interview is the most important, I would say, because I myself, I pernah duduk in panel for scholarship, and that is where you see how these people work silo, sorang-sorang, and work in team. And mostly banyak markah in work with team. How do you allow the other person to give their opinion? How do you agree to that opinion? And how do you want to contradict to that opinion? Boleh contradict. If you tak agree dengan your fellow scholarship applicant also, you can say, I see your point, but this is my view. You have to need your own view. Jangan yes man sangat. And jangan yes man to the panelists as well. Sometimes panelists just throw some random fact that is not true, and you can say, oh yeah, that's true. Let us see how they want to trick you. Bukan trick, you want to see how alert you are. We know that you are nervous and all, but be your unique person. Fifth, and this is the most important thing. Ramai yang takut, ramai yang gugup waktu interview. I get it, but do not afraid to ask question or clarification. We cannot take all in one sitting. Memang penat. My interview last one whole day. It was in the morning, interview for scholarship. Once started in the morning, end up in the evening. So it started with karangan, IQ test, one-to-one interview, role model, group interview. I think pukul 4 baru habis meeting I. But what I do, know that we ask question and ask question to the panelists. Meaning if panelists ask you question, you tak faham soalan panelists, you can ask them to repeat or use your word. Do you mean, were you asking this, and this? Or if I did not get you wrong, you ask this. Daripada you tak faham and jawab soalan salah and you get that one interview, ask question. No worries. Tak ada orang akan makan you, tak ada orang akan deduct your point untuk tanya. Orang akan nampak you lagi berani untuk clarify benda. Okay, I think that's all from my top 5 don't during interview. And Sim, can we go to the chat room?
Exactly. Okay. Just about to do that, Sab. I think you shared some really good insights.
Thank you.
I think the one of the points that I want to just re-summarize is that you made it a point to put to describe certain idioms for different phases of your life, and I like that really very much. And I would personally, go back and try doing that as well.
Yeah, right. You can have it like in your pocket of memory. Or
exactly. That was that time, that idiom was that time,
Betul, yes.
That allows you to sometimes you have a phase that is very demotivating.
Betul.
Dwelling on it. If you put it aside and you say that was a phase and you call it an idiom and then you're done, it helps you move on. I think that's really good.
Betul. Yes. And also it's not too late. It's not too late. In whatever problem you have right now, it's never too late to bounce back and make your new idiom. True?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay.
I will just share. There are a few questions here on the chat group. First one, Miss Sabrina, I like your journey. Here I have a question. Trial results will be taken into consideration to apply scholarships, is it?
Okay. For this one, usually, there's 2. You need to look for it. For trial result 1, not all scholarship provide this. There's only few, if I know. Then you have to Google it actually. For my school, I was lucky enough that the counselor was very proactive, and she was the one who found that trial result can be used on certain scholar. The one I remember applying was Petronas. Petronas definitely has a trial result. Can Sim? You guys have it
Yes.
also, right? Yes.
Yes.
Right. Petronas have trial result EduCam, so that one's for sure. Bank Negara has trial result SPM. Khazanah also, if I remember, because I apply all these three. So look out when information is at your fingertip. Just go look up and you'll find it. All right.
Yeah, I think I'll add on the UTP one as well. There are some universities, they may not be companies. These are universities that are willing to give you a placement with your trial result.
Trial result, correct.
Another one is for Bank Negara, Sab. What are the courses that, I mean, if you go to Bank Negara scholarship and you say you want to be a doctor, it's probably very hard to get a Bank Negara scholarship, right?
True. Okay.
Courses that are relevant.
For Bank Negara, they have a list of courses that we got, but the one that I did, industrial engineering, was not part of it. I managed to convince them that I like engineering. I applied to EduCam with mechanical engineering in mind. So when I got Bank Negara, I told them I want to do something engineering, and also I like numbers. So I do my own research and I give my proposal to Bank Negara saying industrial engineering will satisfy both. I would do my engineering and I would do statistic for Bank Negara. So that's how I got my team lah with Bank Negara. But generally Bank Negara, they go for economists, accounting, actual science. They also taking engineers now because of how they say is engineers think differently and they can replicate the train of thoughts and do it in Bank Negara. So and they also take IT. IT is a hit in Bank Negara right now because now we outsource to other company. So if we can get a good talent for IT, we definitely will take IT. Apa lagi? There's also finance, of course, and those are in a way banking related. Risk management also we take. Compliance ada the risk management. Yep, those are the courses lah. But I want to see here is sometimes it's good to have what you want in mind, and you need to prepare to work as something that not part of your what you study, right? Myself, I do engineering, and I know if I did not practice engineering more than certain years, I wouldn't get my IR, so I could not take. So tak apa. I'm settled down in this banking. So I work in Bank Negara for 9 years now, so I'm still happy with it. Okay.
Thank you, Sab. That's such a nice story. I've got some questions, Samu, for you, but I'll bring that to the later times after both our speakers. Thank you, Sabrina. That was such a nice sharing session. Let's move on to our next speaker, Mr. Keshminder Singh. He is a Sime Darby scholar. He did his economics in University of Warwick. He's an internal auditor at Sime Darby Plantation. And on the side, I know he's a musician. He likes performing the arts. So you guys can ask him those questions. Also, I know he did some modeling, so we'll share some pictures with you. But yes, Cash, the floor is yours.
Hi guys, good evening. First of all, thanks BIMBING for having us here and organizing this great initiative, and happy to help. So yeah, basically the short introduction is that I am a Sime Darby scholar. Currently I work at Sime Darby Plantation, and just like Sabrina, I studied one thing and I work doing a different thing. I studied economics at the University of Warwick, but I do internal audit at Sime Darby Plantation. Internal audit is basically a team of people who will sort of measure the performance of a company based on things like targets that we set, or things like a process that is supposed to happen. We go in to check whether or not this process is happening. And if it's not happening in the best way possible or as per how the company would like, we then provide some recommendations on how do we get back to being efficient, how do we get back to being to doing what we're supposed to do. So that's a little bit about what internal audit is all about, not to be confused with external audit, which is a more accounting and finance. I will audit your accounts. I don't do any of that. We basically audit based on processes and internal policies. So we're here for the scholarship. Let's go to the next slide. I have a little bit of a unique scholarship journey. So I also grew up in Kedah, coincidentally. I was also from a small town, so I do understand the whole small town feeling, especially when you get to another level where there are many other people from different parts of Malaysia. And eventually, you know, when you go to uni, you meet people from different parts of the world. It is the world is your oyster, and you will expand your thought processes. You will also know yourself better. So my journey as a scholar, I finished my SPM in 2007. I did well. I had 10 A1s and 2 A2s. But there was some bad news. I struggled to get a scholarship. So I did apply to many different scholarships. I even applied to colleges in Singapore that provide scholarships to do A levels, even things like an ASEAN scholarship. And this came as sort of like a surprise to me, because I had excelled quite well in primary school. I represented my state for public speaking. In primary school as well, I was the top student in standard 6. In secondary school, I did again a lot of debate, public speaking, a lot of English language competitions, and my studies were also pretty good. I got A's all the time, but I struggled to get a scholarship. I didn't even get many interviews, and at that point, it was something difficult for me to not only accept, but then, you know, what do we do now? How do we go about next? So I did finish my SPM, did not get a scholarship, and then enrolled in a private college as sort of like a plan B. And this was a college in Penang where I did my South Australian matriculation with the vision that, you know, if I don't get that scholarship, I'm still going to try to get that scholarship. But meanwhile, let me get started with South Australian matriculation, which I can do and get to Australia. So after, you know, a couple more rejections, I came across a Employees Children Bursary Award. That's what they called it. So it is like a education award given to employees of children of employees of Sime Darby Group. Now back then, in 2007, Sime Darby Group was a humongous group doing so many different things. And coincidentally, my dad was working in a company that Sime Darby had a 33% stake in, which got me eligible as an employee's child. So I did go through then, apply for that, and we went through a few rounds of interview, and thankfully I managed to get that education award, which wasn't a scholarship, but in a way, you know, it had its benefits as well, because there was no bond for this 2-year period of me doing my A levels. So the education award was a pre-university award where they give you a sum of money. If I'm not mistaken, it was 25,000 ringgit a year to pay for your school fees, to give you an allowance, and it's only for the pre-university phase. So I did my A levels at college, Yayasan UEM. And this college predominantly takes a lot of scholarship students. There is a small group of private students as well who go to the college, and it is a boarding school, a boarding college in Lembah Beringin, just near Tanjung Malim. So at KYUEM, then I did my A levels, and with the Sime Darby Education Award, I became then also familiar with the people at Sime Darby and the people who manage and administer the scholarships, through meeting many different people coming from different schools and levels. When I am winning public speaking competitions in Sungai Petani or in Kedah, it's a whole different ball game when I come to KL and I meet all these KL English speaking kids. And again, your exposure then improves who you are, what you know, and how you learn from it. So at the end of KYUEM then, doing A levels, I applied again now to scholarships. So just like what I did in 2007, 2008, I was back again doing the same thing in 2010. So I had a couple of university admissions already. These were conditional offers. So if you guys, some of you may be already doing your A levels, you're going to be applying for universities, and they will give you some conditional offers, meaning that they will say, if you get 3 A's for your A levels, we'll take you in. But if you don't, we will have to think about it. So I did have a few conditional offers, and I could then apply for other scholarships. So I did the whole thing again: Shell, Negara, Khazanah, Petronas, and thankfully I got the Sime Darby scholarship for undergraduate. So this time it's not just an education award, but now they're going to do a full undergraduate scholarship, which means they would pay for my entire education, which sort of comes at some conditions as well, because usually companies who give out scholarships will want you to go to a certain set of universities. They only want you to go to the top 15 universities for your subject, for example. And remember, I talked about conditional offers. Sometimes you may not achieve those conditional offers. So in my case, I had, if I'm not mistaken, 3 offers. And I had my first choice, which was a Sime Darby approved university. Once I got my results, my A-level results, I was short of 1 star. So they wanted, I think it was 2 A stars and 2 A's. I got that 2 A stars and 2 A's, but not in the subjects that they wanted it in. And so I could not go to my first choice university. And so again, there is, a little bit of a kerfuffle and me not knowing whether my scholarship is going to be continued, because now I didn't get into that first choice Sime Darby approved university. But again, you take challenges in life and you try and do your best, and hopefully you get that reward. After a few rounds of discussions, which my parents were also involved, to try to tell them that, hey, the second choice university is also a great one. And Sime Darby agreed to continue the scholarship. And so then began my exciting years in university, which hopefully all of you will have soon as well, where I studied economics at University of Warwick, which is like in the middle of the UK. The 3 years at university, but let's go to the next slide. Okay, we'll talk about the university next. But yeah, let's get to the scholarships. I guess most of you are here because of also you're probably either just finishing your SPM or doing your SPM this year, and you are not supposed to know what you want to do, is my opinion. At this point, you've just studied these 10 subjects or 9 subjects that you have in school, and now everybody's asking you, what are you going to be when you grow up? Like, What do you want to be? What are you going to study? At that age, I myself didn't know. And that's also why you do pre-university courses. In my case, A levels, I was able to experiment with a few subjects. I tried taking history, I tried taking chemistry, but I ended up then with my 4 favorite subjects, which included economics. And as I studied, then, by the end of the first year, I pretty much knew that I wanted to do economics. Lucky for me that, I didn't get that scholarship after SPM that would have bound me to a certain subject. What if I got that scholarship after SPM for accounting? And I actually hate accounts. So in a way, me not getting a scholarship, me getting that Sime Darby award with no bond, and me having to apply again to a scholarship had its benefits as well.
Joe, tomorrow your piano 3 p.m.
So there are pros and cons for taking a scholarship. And scholarships come in all shapes and sizes. As you can see with my story as well, right? I had an education award, which is not really a scholarship, but it paid for my education, which is ultimately what we want, right? We want a good quality education that, if we can afford it, go ahead, do it. If you think that it would be more comfortable with a scholarship and less strain on yourself, on your family, then that's what you should go for. But I would also say that don't just apply for a scholarship to say, I want to get a scholarship from Negara, or I want to get a scholarship from Sime Darby. But, you apply to Sime Darby for economics, but you actually really want to be a doctor, for example. So my advice would be to not limit yourself to just scholarships. It's not the end of the world if you don't get one. There will be other opportunities, and you may find different ways to get to where you want to go. But again, take this time when you have your SPM, after your SPM, starting your pre-U, to also really reflect on trying to get to where you want to go. If you like animals, would you want a career in animals? If you like music and theater and the movies, would you want a career down that road? Maybe some of these avenues don't really have a lot of scholarships, but they can come in other shapes and sizes, like I was saying. It could be an apprenticeship where you go and work for someone. In a way, it is like a scholarship where you learn things. So try to do things a little bit differently. Don't get yourself too caught up or tied up. I think Sabrina also shared earlier on how with the scholarship, right? It is a great thing to get the scholarship. I have no regrets taking the scholarship, but there may be some sacrifices that you make. For example, Sabrina had to sacrifice getting her IR, which is the professional qualifications as an engineer. I would have liked to work in the UK after I studied, but that was not an option for me as well because of the scholarship, make you come back. So even in between years, if you want to spend the summer wherever you are studying, you may not be able to do that because you would have to come back for an internship. So again, there are always pros and cons. And my message is, it's not the end of the world if you don't get a scholarship this round. There will always be many other avenues. Getting to the applications process. So when you apply for a scholarship, they would judge the applicants just like they would judge employees applying, workers, people applying for jobs. In a way, this is a really early interview because they are interviewing you to give you a job. But they are investing their money and time into you to hopefully make you a better fit for the company. So from the get-go, it's already a job interview, which means you getting tips on the internet on how people prepare for job interviews. It's the same thing for scholarship interviews. Like the previous speakers has shared about things you don't do at interviews. Yeah, you don't want to do this kind of things. You want to be different, but not be too weird. You want to be unique, but not eccentric. They want you to fit in the company culture. And that's why you not only want to find out what's the definition of Sime Darby and what is palm oil, but you also want to find out how do they work and how do they operate. Oh, this company actually does a lot for sustainability. And it's not necessarily what I'm going to be studying. I'm applying for an economics scholarship, but I want to show my interviewers that I know Sime Darby is saving orangutans, or making sure all the oil is certified as non-harmful to the forest. Things like that also will show that you have done some research. The people who are interviewing you also come from management, which means they are the people that eventually, once you join, you will probably end up working under them. So again, it is that early job interview. I've had interviewers that later on, once I joined Sime Darby, I work for them. And it also helps with your working life later that you have gone through this. You are that familiar face. And as for resources on how to prepare and how to do well in your interviews, I think your greatest asset, each of you, every one of you, is the people around you. That and Google, I guess. But the people will give you more realistic answers, hopefully answers that are more tailored to you, as they know who you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are. But just on this call and through meeting people, on webinars like this or at societies or extra events that you guys may do, you will come across a friend's friend who heard about this scholarship, or who saw a great video on how to write personal statement to say why you want the scholarship. And things like this will come up only if you interact and expose yourself to other groups, to newer people, to fresh ideas, which will make you hopefully then stand out from the crowd. And the last point there, local or non-traditional overseas education can be just as good. Of course, I would say it's hindsight, right? I have already gone for the overseas education to the overseas university, and I can say, it's not really about the place. It's about how you do it. But I really think that is true. I have friends also who actually didn't go to university. So right after pre-U or right after SPM, they do a pre-U and straight into professional qualification. So maybe they do their ACCA or ICAW. Of course, you have that university feel, but it's not a degree. It is a professional qualification that somebody at my age would also be doing. I could be sitting in the same class as a 19-year-old who chose to take this route of a non-traditional education. Especially now with the pandemic, chances are you are not going to go overseas, or it's going to be really difficult for you to go overseas. This may be the new norm, and it could be the new way that we approach education. It may get even cheaper. So don't just think that, oh, I have to get a scholarship to get overseas. There are plenty of great scholarships and great universities in Malaysia as well. And at the end of the day, is how you take in the experience and the how do I say this? The events, that you will come across in university, in pre-university. All of this will sort of shape how you are and how you interact with the world. Can we go to the next slide? So hopefully then you apply for your scholarship and you get that scholarship, whatever you want to do, right? And you get to university, or let's say the equivalent of your tertiary education now. Yes, university is about the studying. It's where you gain knowledge. But as you can see, and especially so in today's world, you may be studying one thing and doing the complete opposite. In fact, many employers actually want that because they don't want someone who has just done accounting their whole lives to come in and do accounting. Maybe they want an engineer, or maybe they want an entrepreneur to come in and give some different kind of perspective. And at the end of the day, once you start working, you will understand that unless you do a very technical job, everything can be learned. Even today, me as an internal auditor, you can put me in risk management or even accounting, and I would be able to learn what is needed to be done relatively easy. So the only asterisk would be that if you are doing a very technical thing, right? So if you really want to be a doctor, then of course don't study economics. In that case, you cannot just swap. So how was uni? University, and tying back to the scholarship, then the benefit of the scholarship was that I was able to get a high quality education overseas, which a lot of the time the overseas thing also plays a part because it's more of you living on your own. So overseas could be if you're in KL and you're in Penang as well. You have to live on your own. You have to, deal with things yourself. You have to think about things that you probably didn't think of when you are sitting at home. Simple things like food and laundry. When you have to deal with these kind of things, when you have to deal with living with other people, dealing with difficult situations on your own without maybe your parents or your siblings, each of these events will teach you something and will make you into the person that you are as you grow older and older. And I don't think that ever ends. Today, there are many times where I'm still stumbling around figuring out, what to do and how to do it. So uni is all about that, meeting very, very different people and being exposed to different cultures. You are able to see how different people do the same things and how different people think differently about maybe the same issues. And these kind of things will help you explore new interests, explore some hobbies, even languages. So when you're in uni, the great thing is that although I study economics or whatever course that you do, they will allow you to pick something like an elective subject. So I managed to do Italian in 1 year, some business courses in another year, and you would get all kinds of courses. Once you go to university, that's one of the most exciting things at the start of the year. You decide which modules do I want to do. It's like which subjects do I want to do. And in some cases, things that you may want to do in second year, you have to do like a qualifying thing in first year. So only if I do Italian 101 in first year can I do Italian for business in second year. So these kind of little things as well are quite important. Nothing to do with economics, but university allows you that space to kind of figure out what I want to do. Maybe I want to move to Italy, but that didn't happen. So the scholarship then also helped me live very comfortably. So when you get a scholarship, they give you an allowance, and this allowance is usually the same. Actually, I don't know whether it's the same across wherever you are, but in my case, Sime was giving the same allowance to everybody in the UK. So I was getting £1,000 a month, which is a considerably nice sum of money for a student. Although rent is pretty expensive over there, the balance was still very adequate. So the scholarship really helped me live comfortably. It allowed me to also have some fun and not have to work to earn money. So that were the real big benefits of the scholarship. It allowed me to travel really extensively. So when I was in uni, I caught travel bug and I went all over Europe traveling, did a lot of hitchhiking. That's the big Facebook thumb you see there. And I even did a trip from London to Malaysia without getting on any flights. So it's just strictly a land and sea journey. And last but not least, university. So with all this fun, again, another benefit of the scholarship is that every year I had to hit some grades. I had to make sure that I got a minimum second class upper every year. Without the scholarship, would I have had too much fun? Maybe. So in a way, the scholarship helps you, keep in track, and allows you to have a more, I think, balanced experience at universities. You still have to study, but you also have the privilege of maybe spending a little bit of money here and there and having all these other experiences. And last but not least, so I think I talked about a little bit about working life already. What was good with Darby is that it was a big group. So after I came back from studying, they put you in a program where you spend 3 months in each different industry. So Darby had a property arm, a plantation arm. They sell cars as well, motors. They also do tractors and heavy machinery and industrial. And they do everything else as well. So they allow you to hop around these different businesses 3 months at a time within the space of a year. And once you are sort of ready, or by the end of the year, you make a decision. Where do you want to apply to? Which business? So after doing that, I decided that plantation seems to be the most exciting for me. So that's why then I applied to plantation. And again, the scholarship meant that I didn't have to compete with so many people at the end of my degree. Yes, I could not continue working in the UK, but it meant that when I come back to Malaysia, it is a decent and pretty stable job. I know, the generation these days may not be so interested with a stable job, but thankfully, even during the pandemic and COVID, SIMW was one of those companies that didn't really retrench many people. The main aim was to make sure that we can support and sustain all the employees. And that meant that, maybe we didn't get an increment last year, but it meant this year that when things got better, everybody gets rewarded a little bit more. So I had a 6-year bond that ended in 2019. I'm still at SIMW and enjoying it. I also did a year in Indonesia, again, because of SIMW and the vastness of the business. With most companies that give you scholarships, that is again another benefit. You get access to the entire network. Bank Negara even has offices in the US that many of my friends have gone there on 3-year secondments. Similarly, SIMW has things all around the world, including the UK. So who knows what may come. And yeah, I think that is my sort of journey.
You want to touch on the modeling?
I think we'll just you've already done that. So keep having fun even once you're working. And don't just work. Kalau tak, burn out, like what Sabrina said.
Amazing. Thank you, Kesh.
Thanks.
I think the insights from having different parts, trying to apply for scholarships and then not getting any, and then going about it again and then not getting any, and then again and again, and you just keep pushing. And I think the point that you made about how there's something for you lah somewhere, you know, don't just give up, right? I think that is a very good key point to share with everyone. I think the fact that even if you don't get a scholarship, there's a lot of avenues out there, a lot of opportunities out there for you to get a good education, a good experience through university, and different people go through different journeys. I think that's what you shared, and that's wonderful. Another point of the whole modeling part, and I think Nisha, our next speaker, will touch on it as well. The fact that you know, when you start working, it's not all about just work. It's that work-life balance. Even Sabrina is part of a volleyball team, and you know that whole thing. So I think it's important to zoom out, join your core curriculums in school, not because of that scholarship, but more because you're building yourself and building your ability to network and stuff. So thank you, Kesh. There's a couple of questions that I will share with you later, and then maybe you can bounce those questions off with everyone. But with that, we'll move to our last speaker for tonight. This is Dr. Nisha. Dr. Nisha studied medicine in UNIMAS in Sarawak, and she was a JPA scholar, and she's currently working as a medical officer, general surgery in Hospital Putrajaya. She's also the current Miss Earth Malaysia, and I think her main points won't be about the application process, but more about the balancing act of the different roles that she's playing as a doctor, as a Malaysian leader as well. Nisha, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Simrat, for the opportunity. And it's a very good opportunity for others as well, because during my time, we never had this kind of talks. So my insight was poor when I started off after my high school. I actually, I wasn't aware of the existence of few scholarships. So it was my counselor who actually helped me to apply for matriculation and GPA scholarship. So a bit of introduction about me. I am Nisha. I'm currently working in Hospital Putrajaya as a medical officer in surgical department. I completed my housemanship in HUKM, 2 years of housemanship. And I graduated from University of Sarawak. Before that, I completed my matriculation program in Kopeng Perak. So I got my scholarship prior to my matriculation. So how I applied is through my counselor, because initially I did not know how to apply and I had poor insight. So yeah, that's how I got to know about it, and I went for the interview. And like Sabrina mentioned earlier, there are a few parts of the interview. So my interview was in groups. Like we had like 6 of us who went in, and they just threw a lot of questions. So I get to answer only few. So I thought initially I wouldn't make it, but then I made it. Yeah, I'm a doctor now. So most of the components, and Sabrina just now on the qualities and qualifications. I got 12 A's in SPM. So during that time, the minimum A's that you should have to apply for a JPA scholarship was 10 A's. So I took additional 2 subjects and I got 12 A's. And for my percubaan, I barely got 4 A's. So don't give up. Please don't give up after your percubaan. I know some of you guys, after your percubaan, you'll be like, oh my God, I'm not going to get straight A's. And most of y'all will give up, but keep studying, keep giving your best. You can ace it if you have the confidence and if you have the courage. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, most of the components are touched by Kesh and Sabrina. I'm just going to talk about time management. So the first question people always ask me whenever they get the opportunity to meet me, how I manage my time. Like everyone, whoever meets me, they will ask this question. So for me, time management is exercise, conscious control of time. I always consciously control my time. So every time when I wake up in the morning, when I start my day, I will have a clear focus what I'm going to do. Like let's morning when I wake up from the sleep and when I'm starting my work, before that, I will have a schedule. I will know what I'm going to do after work, 5 p.m. I'll be going for I will have a swimming lesson. After that, I will have my catwalk class. Yeah, by the way, I'm the reigning Miss Earth Malaysia. So I have to practice before I compete in the international stage. I'll be competing in Manila in December. So I have to keep up with all my work, whatever I've scheduled out, all my work, so that I can complete it in a day. And the other thing is, like I said, you must have a dynamic list. You must have a list before you start of your day. You must jot it down. What are you going to do and how many hours you're going to take? Like me, I just set RCS, so I was studying as well. So my plate was full for the past few months. I had a lot of things going on in my life. So when I schedule out things, I could do it dynamically and focus on high value activities when you want to manage your time. Like for me, my studies are my priority because I want to specialize in surgical base. MRCS is tough, so you have to at least spend 2 hours a day studying, going back to your basics, and we will have group studies and sorts. And also, I would not miss my exercise, my gym workouts, keep fit. I will have like meetups and media works on weekly basis. So I have to look good as Miss Earth, of course, because I'm a public figure. So whenever I put on a little bit of weight, people will notice it. And of course, I'll get criticism, and there are people who will throw negative comments at me. So I keep fit. That is like something that is stressful. It will always pressure me because you need that motivation to work out every day. You can't, after work, you'll be drained, you'll be super tired. Sometimes I just want to get back home and sleep. Whenever I on call, I work 36 hours straight. So the only thing I want to do once I get back home is to sleep. So when I have a dynamic schedule, so I know what I'm going to do in my life, like on that day, I will spend at least an hour working out. After that, I'll have 2 hours of sleep, and then I will study for my exam. So the other thing is you have to minimize interruptions whenever you have your schedules. Like, for example, I have friends who always call me out to hang out and sorts. So I will tell them, I actually have a schedule. I have to complete all these tasks and join you all. So I will prioritize things. And then I will not procrastinate most of the time. Though previously, yes, I will procrastinate because my work is very, very tiring, and I do on calls on weekly basis, sometimes even every other day. When there's no available doctors, I have to cover for them. So it's like straight 36 hours, like thrice of 4 times a week. So it's really tiring. So I do not procrastinate. I will always make sure that if I already set my mind to it, I will do it. I will complete it. Then only I can sleep. So the other thing is you have to before like whatever you have done for the day. For example, what you did from morning, night, during my weekends, I'll make sure I review the whole week, what I've done, if I completed my task. So whatever, I have my own timetable. So whatever that I put in my timetable, did I completed it? So if I didn't complete it, I will take it like a debt and I will do it in the following week. So yeah, that's all about how you manage your time. And being a doctor, you really required to work, and then you have a balanced life as well, because it is really stressful. As I mentioned earlier, it's very, very stressful. Most of my friends, they after work, they just come back home and sleep. And sometimes they do being a doctor, you must keep healthy. At the same time, you must have a balanced life. You must involve in extracurricular activity. That's my point of view, because at the end of the day, it will help you if you want to progress in your life, especially if you want to do your specialization. Extracurricular activity is very, very important. So besides being the reading Miss Earth and preaching on how to conserve the environment, I have my own charity organization called Health of the Community, in which I help the underprivileged on and off with their basic necessities, and I have my own page as well. So for that, you need time management as well, because you can't do everything at once. You need to have a timetable for it, like I mentioned earlier. And yeah, right now, since there's a surge of COVID and everything, it got hard. It was really difficult for me to balance things out and everything. I get to do things because I've already set my mind to it, and I don't procrastinate. So I think that's all, because I don't want to take much of your time. Most of the things I've already, Kesh and Sabrina have already covered it. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Yeah.
Nisha, I think I would maybe run through some of this news, and maybe you can share some stories. I see, you are the current Miss Earth Malaysia, and as you said, as a doctor, you're trying to balance all this out, and you're saying you prioritize things, you figure out a list, right? And at the same time, it's not just normal things that you're doing. You're actually you're going out there and being the news, right? These are some cutouts of recent news that in the last couple of months that you've been part of. And I see one on the top right corner of you speaking to Dr. Mahathir. Would you mind sharing what was your conversation about? Maybe a quick summary about what did you all speak about?
Actually, it was my dream to meet him. Growing up, he's like my biggest role model. I've always wanted to meet him. So one of the figure that I really wanted to meet, I will always tell my parents, I want to meet him. So I got the opportunity to meet him. When I wrote into him, I told him that you are my biggest role model. I want to meet you. And then he right away approved. I was so shocked, because I've had friends who actually wanted to have a conversation with him, who actually wanted to have a meeting with him. All of these people they did not make it, and I made it. So I actually went there with an idea of asking him what's going to happen in the future, what's going to be the future of doctors, the current doctors, because most of us are contract doctors. And being a contract doctor, you would not able to do certain things in Malaysia. You have a bit of disadvantages as compared to the permanent medical officers. For example, you can't apply for local masters program. So one of the prerequisite is you must be a permanent MO. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to tell him what I feel about that and what's going to happen in the future, whether they're going to absorb all this contract doctors as permanent or not. So, and then it actually went to a different thing. I actually started asking him how he keeps fit, how he's healthy, how's his food habit and everything. So there are a lot of things that he shared. So that one thing that struck me is, he said, if you want to live longer in life, you have to have a balanced diet. He said this, you cannot eat until you are full. You have to make sure that you just have adequate food to just fill your stomach. You shouldn't feel full or bloated. Because he said when he was a medical student, he's a doctor as well. So when he was a medical student, he went to a mall. And in the mall, he actually found this weighing scale where he went on it. And then the weighing scale actually told him how much of his weighing scale actually, it actually had this documentation on it saying that he has highest fat content. So he was shocked, and then that's when he started having a balanced life. That's what he told me lah. That's what triggered him to have a balanced life and do not eat like unhealthy food and all those things. And what he told me about the contract basis is, he said government doesn't have enough money to pay doctors, and though they need more doctors at time being, they still don't have enough funds to pay doctors, and probably in maybe like 5 years time, most of these doctors will be absorbed as permanent doctors. So these are the conversation we were having.
Yeah, that's you are not only representing the Miss Earth, but you're also representing the doctors out there. And just want to take you to that first article on the left. Miss Earth Malaysia expects to come up with own biodegradable sanitary pads by year end. Could you share with us your plans? What are you planning on that?
Okay, I came up with this idea even before joining Miss Earth Malaysia, because I really wanted to play a role in conserving and preserving the environment. So this idea, I had it last year itself. So once I became Miss Earth Malaysia, so I put it to work, and it's still in process. It's still in process because it takes some time because of the pandemic and everything. It got delayed. I supposed to release it earlier this year, so it will be out soon. And why I came up with this idea of creating biodegradable sanitary napkins, because the normal conventional napkins, sanitary napkins, it takes 800 to 1,000 years to completely biodegrade. So it's a long time. So when I was discussing this matter with a few of my doctor friends, I was in obstetric and gynecology department previously. So when we were discussing about this, they liked the idea, and I was discussing about this with my patients as well, because when I was in that department, I saw there are like a lot of sanitary waste, and most of it are plastic based. So that's how I got that idea, and I really hope that it will take off in the future. And so many people likes my idea, and it's going to be the very first time Malaysia going to have such biodegradable pad, and it's going to be I'm going to be the first doctor to create that, and I'm happy about it.
That's very nice, Nisha.
Mm.
I think you're pushing boundaries. I think even at this age, you know, people start getting stable income, getting stable life, and then they don't push boundaries. I think what you're showcasing today is that you don't just push boundaries as a student post SPM, not just in the university, but you know, all the way through, even at our current age, we should be looking at pushing different boundaries and learning as we go along. I think, Nisha, thank you so much for sharing. There are some questions for all of you guys. I think we'll take the next 10 minutes to, you know, just bounce some questions with you guys. Feel free to unmute yourselves and ask if anyone wants to do that. And speakers, pick whichever topic you feel you can answer. Okay, so I'll go. This one is straight to Nisha. There's one in the chat. Does JPA scholarship, is there still JPA scholarship available for medicine, to pursue medicine?
Okay, when I recently checked the portal, it says that it has this prerequisite. The minimum requirement is 9A+, and you must be a Malaysian citizen. That's all I could find in the portal. But if you like to know more, or if you want to get more enlightenment, maybe you can call them up, so that it would be good. Because even during my time, they had few prerequisites. When I called them up, there were many other instructions and terms and conditions as well. So I think the most reliable source will be when you call them up and get to know what is the terms and condition. Yeah.
We've got a JPA scholar in the group as well, who just got a scholarship last year. So he's saying that JPA provides scholarships which are convertible loans for local medicine courses through the program KAS Lepasan SPM dalam Negara. So, and this is an annually thing. So once your SPM results are out, you can apply for them. So that answers that question. Next, may I know if I wish to get a scholarship for the overseas university, should I apply for that particular university itself, or do I have to go through the scholarship? Is it two different application processes? Maybe Kesh and Sabrina, one of you guys can.
Maybe I can take this. Actually, yeah, it's for overseas. For us Malaysian, unfortunately, we need to get funded first to go to study overseas. Meaning there's two separate application. First application is a scholarship application. For those who are mampu untuk bayar sendiri, no problem, you don't have to go scholarship. Second, you go and have all the exams that they have. Macam I went to US and there is an SAT and also TOEFL English. I believe in UK you go for IELTS, right? So those are the prerequisite for applying that proof that you are English proficient. Then after that you go and apply for your overseas university. So there's no such thing macam dekat Malaysia, you nak study you boleh ambil scholarship right? So untuk overseas it's a bit hard for you to do that, and not that I heard of among my peers or among those yang I kenal. I don't know if Kesh, you can add something on that?
Yeah, same as what Sabrina has mentioned. So you wouldn't apply for scholarships, or the general scholarships are not applied to at the university itself. So even taking a step back, the university application itself as well goes through, like for especially in the UK, goes through a central organization called UCAS. So you are not actually applying to the university, you're applying to this organization who then does the administration for this. Similarly, scholarships will not be to the university, it will be to the people providing the scholarship. There is no one-stop shop where you can apply and it goes to all the different scholarships. You do have to do a lot of research. There are many scholarships out there that are sort of hidden. Things like scholarships through embassies of different countries, also of not only corporations, but NGOs and societies also have scholarships which may not, be forwarded in WhatsApp messages. So do your research. Just to share a little funny story, I was going through my emails this evening to try and refresh my memory of my scholarships as well. And way back in 2007, right after my SPM, I have typed in like a message in a forum, and this is like a Sikh university forum, something like that, for Malaysian Sikhs. And in there, I just, as a 16-year-old Form 5 student, wrote, I want a scholarship, I'm doing my SPM, I'm looking for finance, business, accounting, please share with me what you have. And somebody took the time to reply to me and pretty much told me off for me making that request seem so informal, so unprepared, without any research. And it, shook me a little bit and made me realize that, okay, I need to put more effort into this. I should know how do I apply for scholarships. I should find out some things. And when I look for help as well, I should inform that this is what I know. Can you tell me things that I don't know? Kind of thing. So very important to do your research. Don't just think, I want a scholarship, you got scholarship, give me scholarship. There is a lot of research that goes into it.
Thanks, Kesh for sharing and Sabrina for sharing. This to Nisha, something from the chat. Are there any disadvantages of becoming a doctor in the future? And how many years do we need to spend in order to be a doctor? If you can take those questions.
How many years you should spend is 5 years. 5 years of medical degree if you don't repeat the years. Because in medical school, for you to score A grade, it's impossible unless you are super smart. So we all will just aim to pass each exams. So if you pass, is more than adequate. And then for us to pass, we have to study like day and night. So that's how difficult is the exam. So as long you don't repeat the years, it's okay. I think for GPA scholarship, you shouldn't repeat the years. If you repeat, then you'll be automatically lah. So yeah, it's 5 years program, and it depends on the countries as well. Like in Indonesia, you have to do 4 years of medical degree, in which there'll be 2 years of theoretical exams, and then another 2 years of clinical exams, and then after that, you will have an attachment with the hospital, like a housemanship for a year, and then you are done. And I'm not sure about Russia. I think Russia is 5 to 7 years, and that also depends on whether you have repeated years or not. And what was the other question?
Very long time lah.
What was the other question?
Are there any disadvantages of becoming a doctor?
I mean, well, if you're passionate about becoming a doctor, if you have the passion, you shall go for it. I mean, when I went for an exposure program under JPA, once I've secured the JPA scholarship, I had to go for an exposure program in the hospital. So most of these doctors, my senior doctors, they literally chased us out. They say, don't be a doctor. You'll be literally married to the hospital. You won't have a life for yourself. Go away, get lost. So they actually discouraged me. But there are several doctors who encouraged me. They said, if you're passionate about helping people, if you're passionate about giving back to the community, by all means, you can become a doctor. So the same advice, I would not discourage anyone. My cousin sister, she just enrolled into medicine, and she was procrastinating for the past 2 years. She took a long time because I used to go back home and complain a lot. I do complain. My life is not all about, beautiful things, flowery things. I do complain. I go back and be like, oh my God, today my day is like super bad. The surgeon was so nasty to me. And I would not say this one word that I don't want to be a doctor. I wouldn't have been a doctor. I wouldn't say that, but I would be like, probably the challenge that I should go through to become what I am right now. And I would say, it's actually the challenges that made me who I am right now. I'm a medical officer in the surgical department. And, for you to be a medical officer, you have to go through that phase of housemanship in which you will have a lot of hurdles. You will have sleepless nights, and you will be pushing yourself. Like at the end of the day, you'll become independent. So that's what you'll be looking at. And being a doctor is not easy because you are dealing with a life. It's not a mission. Whatever happens to the patient, for example, in the middle of the night, there's a patient unstable. So you are the first one to attend as a houseman. So you have to understand how it works. You have to know what is your responsibility, what you should do at your level. So that's how you learn when you see patients. At first, I was super nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to kill the patient and all sorts of things. There were a lot of things going on in my mind. I was thinking that I'm incompetent. I could not do this, because whatever you study in the book and when you do the practical, it's two different things. It's too different. You can read, okay, how to do an interrupted suture, how to do a continuous suture. It'll be super easy for you to memorize and then omit it out in the exam. But when you perform it, you really need that talent and preciseness. You must know, you must have the practice. So being a doctor, it's all about practice. And also you must have knowledge. You must study all the time. You must be consistent, because there are lots of things that's happening. Like COVID-19 is a new disease. So you have to know in and out. So you have to be consistent about studying, and also to getting to know new diseases, and about the management as well, because the management, it improves as it goes, as time goes, it improves. And there are a lot of different surgical intervention that comes in. Like I'm a surgical MO, so I have to keep myself updated about it. So life is all about facing book lah. If you don't like studying, if you don't like reading, memorizing things, please do not become a doctor. So when I was a SPM student, I was really good in maths. My I've never scored below 97. And my maths as well. So I was a maths person, but I was passionate about becoming a doctor. So I thought I'm not going to make it. But, if you have the courage, if you believe in yourself, and if you're consistent about what you're doing, you can make it. And I was balancing my life, my medical school life, by being a pageant girl, I was in cat modeling, I was doing catwalks for brands. At the same time, I was a medical student. So if I can do, definitely you can make it as well. And the challenges in the future, yes, we are a contract doctor. It's the biggest challenge. Most of my friends have already migrated because they think that they're not going to progress in life. But we do have parallel pathways. You can take your papers, but you need to pay for it. Your specialization papers is really expensive. I think I spent nearly 10,000 this year for my papers itself. It's quite pricey, but worth the investment. Don't worry about it. If you really want to be, you must know what's the reason behind it. Why you want to become a doctor? Do you want to show off as a doctor? No, you shouldn't be a doctor. You want to show off. You want to tell people, oh, I'm a doctor. So you think it's a status for you so that people will look up to you. No, never think of that. So you must be passionate.
I think,
you must, yeah.
I think Nisha, you hit the nail in the coffin. Like actually, you said that you have to be passionate. So when you say you have to be passionate in trying being a doctor, you have to actually visualize the fact that you will be handling people who may die in your hands, right? So things like that, if you can have that much of like want, right, then I think you can do medicine lah. If it's just for the name, I think Nisha, you said like no point, like you're gonna waste.
No point.
It's gonna be a very hard time, a very long time as well.
Because you're dealing with life, it's very, very important for you to know that. And between life or death, so you must be really ready for it. You must be ready for it if you want to become a doctor. And also,
just a question to you while you're at it, right?
Yeah, and also all those negative things that people are gonna tell. Yes. Yeah. Sorry,
the question here is, can I know what the salary is for just being a doctor?
So my basic salary right now is 3,100. With all the additional, I get 5,000 plus, and I do my on-calls as well. So on-call claim, I'll get 1,000 plus, so it's 6,000 plus. Yeah, and sometimes I do my locums as well. By doing locums, you get good pay. Trust me. A day I can earn 1,000 ringgit if I do locum, because like it goes in hourly. Yeah.
What's locum? Could you share?
Locum is once you have already gotten your full registration as a doctor, you can practice outside the hospital during your weekends and whenever you have extra time. So you can do your locum in clinics or private hospitals. So usually private hospital, it goes by hourly basis. Per hour, they pay you 50 bucks to 100 ringgit. Like Glen Eagles, they pay you 100 bucks per hour. So when you do your overnight call, 10 hours is going to be 1,000 ringgit. That is excluding your admissions, your procedures, and all sort of things. Yeah, again, if you have the time, if you have the energy, you can go for it. Like me, I'm taking my exams. I'm an independent girl. So I am self-funded. So I need that fund. So that's why whenever I have time during the weekends, I'll go for my locum, along with all this, whatever that I schedule out for my day, my workouts, and my pageant activities. I'll do my locum as well. So again, it's about time management. I've already spoken about it. So
thanks, Nisha. This next question is to maybe Cash. Okay, first question is, are we able to work in the country that we study in? For example, if I were to get a scholarship, Sime, Darby, Negara, whatever, and I study overseas, will I be able to stay there and continue working there, or must I come back? What are my options?
So how it is in real life, when you come to that point, I feel at the end of the day, it's going to be between you and your company giving the scholarship. there is a little bit of room to negotiate and sort of strike a deal by saying maybe, okay, I will work 2 years first overseas and then I'll come back. I do know that Khazanah had a policy, which means, they will, it's not like an approval or an application. They have it in their policy that says, or at least back then, that says once you graduate, they will allow you to work up to 5 years in outside of Khazanah before then getting you into Khazanah. In a way, it's also good for these companies to do that, because then you go and learn all the basic things at somebody else's cost. And then once you are a little bit more senior, you are coming back now to Khazanah or Darby. You get to, sort of give back in that manner. But I would say, please remember also that you taking the scholarship is at somebody else's expense. And in a way, the scholarship giver, the company, has given you a lot. Many things that you will not be able to get without that scholarship or experience without that scholarship. So don't forget that, and also value that in the sense of that loyalty, and also that giving back sort of what you owe. Once you start working, it's not like they're not going to pay you. They're still paying you. It's just that they want you to be there, So, yeah, I would say there is an opportunity, but not 100% sure.
I think, Sabrina, if you want to share,
yeah. To add on cash, it depends on the type of scholarship that you guys are receiving. For some scholarship provider, I know for sure MARA and GPA, they're not very particular about this. As long as after your scholarship ends, you can pay the monthly installment to them, it's okay. So a lot of my MARA friends, my GPA friends do stay back in US and study there. But for those yang company funded, macam Khazanah, macam Sime Darby, because they have their interest. When they send you, they see you as their potential employee. So they want you to come back. But you are right, it's a case-to-case basis. I also see there's only one actually, one of my Bank Negara scholar. She stayed in the States because she's a good actress, and she got a prestigious company in US. So I think Bank Negara think that it outweighs working in Bank Negara. So they just let her go as long as she can pay her monthly due. That's it. But if you take MARA and JPA, can. So there you can do it if you take the right scholarship. That's what I'm saying. Yep.
Speaking about right scholarships, there's something in the comment as well from Sharon. Sharon is a representative from a university in the UK called University of York, and she's alluded to the fact that there are also scholarships that are university-based, internal university-based. So you go to each university and then find awards or scholarships from that university. It may not be full, but it could at least pay maybe 50% of your tuition. And those scholarships will definitely allow you to stay in the country. So the problem with staying is most of the time the visas. However, countries like UK, Canada, right now, they have programs where if you studied there and you graduated there, you can stay back for an additional 2 to 3 years to work there free of charge without getting the work permit. You just use your study permit and then convert that for a 2-year or 3-year timeline. So that's just another point. I've got a lot of questions regarding doctor and stuff, but let me see whether I can ask another question to Sabrina first.
Sorry, if you could just add into what we were just talking about, right? So I think it's very important for you guys to find out what you're applying for and these kind of finer details. Remember, even Sabrina talked about asking questions, even during your applications process when you deal with them, with the people from the company or the scholarship givers, ask them about all these kind of things, whether or not it's a outright strict scholarship or it's a convertible loan, which is what we talked about earlier, where you can actually have the option to pay back. Those things make a big difference, and hopefully you are at a position where you can choose which one you want, and these kind of things will decide which scholarship you go for.
Yep, fine details. I think that's the important part. Sab, one of the questions that came around in the registration form was, how do you spend your post SPM time before getting to your pre-U or getting to your
okay,
NBD?
honestly for me, because I got in with my trial result, so I got into my prep school in February. So I only have 2 months of doing nothing after SPM. I was trying to take a driving license tapi tak sempat. So yeah, so I did not do much. But this is a real thing. After SPM, you might be idle. Ada yang kerja, that's good. I think if you kerja part time, it will enhance your communication skill. Will enhance how you see people. It will enhance your skill. And also, what you can do is you can pick up things. Macam my sister, I asked her to learn how to play guitar during her SPM idle time. And she is actually a good guitar player. She went to Aussie, Australia, Queensland University. She performed there and become a star. I'm not even kidding. She has YouTube and all now. So I'm pretty proud to say I push her. So find your interest, find something new between your SPM years. Try not to think about it sangat and just enjoy your free time.
Cash, I'm sure you have something to add, Cash.
I also actually didn't have a big gap, but I think yes, do use that time for things that you actually enjoy, and use that time to also, like I was saying earlier, right? You're not expected to know what you want to do in 5 years, and I used to get really annoyed when I was in school and they tell me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? All my standard answer is, hopefully richer than I am, happier than I am. I really didn't see myself in what are you going to do? So maybe you can use the time to explore things that you enjoy doing at almost sort of like a free cost, no cost.
Cool, that's cool. I'm going to dive into some of the medical questions, Nisha. But we've got another doctor in the group as well, who's answered Keshminder, yeah, who knows as well. So some of the questions were, how long is housemanship? I think she answered that. Keshminder answered that it's 2 years. Can we work overseas as a doctor? I think the answer is yes. If you sit for certain papers based on the country. So if you're going to the UK, there are certain papers you need to sit for. If you're going to the US, certain papers that you need to sit for. There are some countries that will take you without papers. You will need to dive into that further. Probably you can add on that, Nisha. But the question that I want to ask here that maybe you may have an answer for is, what would I study if I would like to manufacture medicine in the future? Do I be a drug dealer? Nisha?
Manufacturing medicine. So basically, you must know the mechanism of action of the medicine, how it works. And of course, I think you need to be a pharmacist for that. Because you need to learn the technical part of it, before you're creating your own drugs. I think you need to be a pharmacist. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that pharmacist is the answer.
And yeah, about working in the overseas.
Nisha, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nisha,
so about working in the overseas, once you've gotten your degree in Malaysia, for example, if you are a local uni graduate, you can't. If you're a graduate from UKM, USM, and UM, you can apply to work in Singapore. That's for sure. Any other universities apart from USM, UKM, and UM, you can't work in overseas unless if you take an entrance exam. Like for UK, you have to seek for your PLAB 1 and PLAB 2. Before that, you have to take an English proficiency exam. And they have certain certain grades that you should score before you sit for your Plat 1 and Plat 2. And for Australia, you have to take AMC Part 1 and Part 2. And before that, you have to take your English exam as well. For USA, you have to take USMLE. And that also, they have their prerequisite. You have to sit for IELTS English exam. And you have to score more than Band 7. Yeah. So if, let's say, if you want to pursue in overseas, once you're done with medical school, you all hear me? Interruption?
Yeah,
Can you all hear me?
Yeah. I hear you now.
So if, let's say, you have already had that plan to pursue in overseas, please take your exams during your final year. So once you have already done with your professional exam, right away, go and take your PLAB, AMC or USMLE, because the knowledge will be fresh. Once you've already started your housemanship, it's more like practical. You won't have time to study. So yeah, you won't have that time. So better for you to do it when you are a medical student. Make your mind, do it at that time itself. Yeah, so most of my friends who is planning to migrate, they're actually struggling now because they can't balance between their work and studies. There are a lot of things. You have to go back to your basics again. A lot of things you have to study. So yeah, if you ever have that idea in the back of your mind, make sure you take the exams during your professional exam. Once you've already done your professional exams, it'll be way easier.
One last question, Nisha. Is it possible to do medicine in a public university after A-levels?
Actually, I've never came across anyone who have done that, because during my time, most of them have done their matriculation, either matriculation, and they have a matriculation program for BUMIs. So both of this. And A-levels, I think mostly those who have gotten their TPA scholarship to do their medicine in private universities, they have to go through A-levels, not public university, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So, yeah. So A-levels for private universities.
Private university, okay.
Yeah.
This is one last question for you again, Nisha. Sorry, Kesh, sorry, Sab. A lot of medical related questions. I'm actually interested. This is from Latigasri. I hope I got the name right. I'm actually interested to become a doctor as well. However, I'm quite worried about the job security because many people keep telling me that there are too many doctors. Would it be risky for me if I choose to pursue my dream career?
Actually, it's not true. Actually, it's not true. I don't know where you which resource, because we have no enough doctors right now. We need more doctors. It's just the government doesn't have the fund to pay us. That's why they put us under contract basis. And even when I had a conversation with Dr. Mahathir, he told the same thing. Malaysia needs more doctors. So we have only one doctor for 10 patients, 10 Malaysians. So that is very like, the probability is very, very least, like a lot of patient, one doctor. It's supposed to be like three patients, one doctor. So we still need doctors. Yeah. So again, yeah, everyone's like, even my cousin sister, she was worried because we are under contract basis, and it is a challenge actually. But if you have your mind into it, and if you really want to become a doctor, by all means, it's worth it. You can go ahead, because you have a lot of opportunity in the future. And like I said, you can migrate to other countries, and like they have a clearer pathway once you have already completed your like, for example, if you want to become a surgeon, you have to complete your MRCS Part 1 and Part 2. After that, right away you can get into surgical trainee post. So yeah, you have a lot of options that can choose. You don't have to, like, you know, be bound to that one. You have to stay in Malaysia. I know a lot of y'all, you really want to stay with your parents, and you have your responsibilities as well. But then, yeah, there are lots of options, like parallel pathway as well. Like in Malaysia, you have, if you want to become a physician, you have pathway. You can take your MRCP Part 1 and Part 2. After that, followed by gazettement, and then you can become a specialist. Yeah.
I
mean, you have to dive into this option.
Good clarification there, in the sense where doctors in Malaysia, they all work for the government. So that's how it's set up here in Malaysia. So when you work for the government, then you work under KKM, and there are only so much that they can pay. So it's their funding limitation that's the problem. However, the number of doctors that are needed is still there. So there's still demand for doctors. It's just that the current demand versus the current placement is a problem. So that's why you have long waiting periods, 1 year before your housemanship. But if that's your passion, I think you should pursue that. With that, I think...
One more, I just wanted to touch on Latif Gasri's question. And I think you just summed it as well. If that's your passion, you should definitely do it. Don't let that fear of a job security stop you from doing it, especially so when you know you are interested in it. If there are, so even if there were less jobs than there were people, you will just have to be the better performer, right? And your interests will hopefully make you the person who are shining, who outshines the others or your peers, and you will get that job. And it's not always only like one pathway. I think Nisha also talked about parallel pathways. Even if you do medicine, it will be a variety of things where you can put this qualification that you have to. So I think nobody should be worried about job security.
I agree with Kesh, because the thing is, a lot of us, we will second thought it, like we will have questions in our mind. We won't proceed with whatever we are dreaming of. Like me, if I want something, I'll go and get it. I don't have a second thought. I won't doubt it. That's why I could succeed most of my plans, most of my dreams. Like when I was a houseman, like some of them told me that, you can't continue being a model. But I was still balancing my life being a model. So if you put your mind into it, you can ace it by all means. You don't have to doubt about it. If you're really passionate about it, you will go for it. You won't have a second thought. So that's I've been pushing my limits to. That's what I've been doing in my life as well. Though my parents weren't supportive initially when I was into fashion field. My dad was totally against it. Because I'm from Orthodox family, my dad is a very conservative man. And I used to do pageants without his knowledge back in my medical school. I used to hide all my crowns and trophies in my wardrobe. My dad didn't know. So the time I got my scroll as a doctor, I went in front of me. I was very, I was very scared because he's a very fierce man. He's like very, very strict and all. I will never have a conversation up front to him, like he's very fierce. So that was the first time I went in front of him and I told him I'm passionate about it and I'm doing it no matter what. And then I don't know what he thought. He just told me like, go ahead, do whatever you like. But I know up till now he don't like it, but still he has the trust on me, and he knows that I ace whatever I touch, and I'm stubborn about it. Whatever I want to get in my life, I will get it. So you have to have that courage as well. You have to prove it to others that whatever you do in your life is for the best. You will make best out of it. Yep.
Yeah, that's very nice, Nisha. I think there are some more questions coming in. I would like to continue taking those questions. That's really nice. We've got good number of people in the chat still. But the one that stood out was, how can I obtain this recording, which means I need to take you guys through to the next 2 slides before we continue with some questions. Sabrina, Kesh, Nisha, a few more minutes. Hope you guys are still around. So this is the BIMBING team. We are looking to expand. We're looking to grow. If you're looking to do something post SPM and you want to share and you want to help out, come up with, organize events like this and help your peers. We are looking for leaders, mentors, speakers, influencers, and the list goes on. And how does this benefit you? It gives you some sort of a networking opportunity. You're able to meet with all these great speakers. It gives you some sort of a credibility You can put these things in your CV as you go along. You learn a lot of things on the job. So hopefully we can get some people here who is willing to join the BIMBING team and help grow this initiative. This is free of charge. Everybody is doing this voluntarily. So Nisha, Kesh, and Sabrina all speaking for free. And that's the beauty of having these networks, right? And giving back. And with that, I really want to thank the speakers. Stay with us. The questions will come in. But if you want to get the recording, if you want to get the emails of our speakers, if you want to message them personally or email them personally, or if you want to speak to the BIMBING team, this is the slide that you need. On the left-hand side is the QR code for the feedback form. Send us your feedback. On the right-hand side is a WhatsApp group. So we've been building on this WhatsApp group. We've got more than 50 people in this WhatsApp group. Get involved, get into this WhatsApp group if you are a post-SPM student, and we'll be updating you with a lot of events like this. So just join the QR code, join the WhatsApp group. We'll share the emails of the speakers there. We'll share the recordings there. We'll share the slides there. And if you want to get in touch with BIMBING, join us on Instagram, follow us on official BIMBING. And back to the questions. So since we have got a few more questions, I'm just going to read through this and see. Mostly Nisha has got to answer these questions. Let me see. Okay, this question maybe Kesh and Sabrina can answer. Nisha, if you want. How long did y'all spend studying per day when y'all were in school?
Okay. My philosophy is use your classroom time efficiently, because I don't want to repeat and study the same thing again at night, because I was in boarding school, so we have prep at night. So I don't want to spend my prep night studying the same thing. I want to spend prep night answering question. And my another philosophy is answer a lot of question until you recognize all the question. I know this is a nerd move, but I did it. I did it. Answer all the question di atas buka bumi ni, so that you know already what's the answer. I mean, that's my do. So what I do is I maximize what is my what is being taught in school. I don't know how you guys go to school now with PKP and all. I'm so sorry that your generation is having this pandemic. I admit, if I'm in your position, I'm a little bit discouraged, but please know this is your future. Sikit lagi. I'm telling you guys, sikit lagi. SPM tu sikit lagi. Then you guys akan pergi ke higher education, will bring you further. Just keep yourself motivated. And maybe spend 2 to 3 hours untuk revise balik and make sure you understand. Then tutup buku. Enjoy your life. That's all from me.
My answer to how much I would study a day depends how close it was to SPM. The closer it was, the more the hours came in. But I mean, unfortunately, a lot of our exams for SPM is a memorizing game. Most clearly was moral, where you memorize these 32 or 26 nilai and their definitions, and you just spit it out. So if you can memorize things quicker, I guess you wouldn't need as many hours. By the end of the day, put in hours in subjects where you think you need the extra work. And like Sabrina said, do a lot of exercises. And those exercise books with all these questions, just keep doing them. I remember back then, you could also download all the trial papers from each state. There was this famous website. If I see it again, I'm sure I can recognize it, where you can just download all of this from maybe 5 years back and just do, and all the answers are there as well. So practice makes perfect, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with Kesh and Sabrina. Practice makes it perfect. And truth to be told, I didn't go for any tuitions during, even before that. I've never been to any tuition classes, trust me. And I took extra 3 additional subjects. I studied it on my own by heart. Accounts is something outside my science stream. It's something different. It's a whole different thing. But I bought the exercise book. I did a lots of exercises. After each chapter, I'll make sure I do at least 100 to questions. So that's how I score A's in each subject. Seriously, guys, if you can do 100 questions after you finish each chapter, make sure you understand the chapter and you do 100 questions. I can assure it to you, you can score A, trust me. And I do a lot of exercises. For biology, I'll have like 3 to 4 exercise books. For chemistry as well, like I will at least have 3 to 4 exercise books. And before exams, I do a lot of past tests, like how Kesh mentioned just now. You can download all this past tests from internet. Those days, we never had that, the opportunity and, those things that to download and to do. So I personally, when I was sitting for my SPM, I never had my own laptop. So, so I was literally relying on this books. I was studying books. I was reading through, and then I was doing a lot of exercises. So yeah, it helps.
Can I just add on to that question, just Kirit? I don't think X number of amount of hours is going to matter, because everybody is very different. There are different people. Some people need to study every day for 5 hours. Some people just need at the end of the week, just over the weekend, 2 hours and they're done. So know yourself, know your style. Some people are visual, some people listen better when through a recording. So know yourself and decide yourself that, okay, I think I am the type of person who needs a lot of studying, then do it that way. So there's no hard and fast rule or like a black and white thing that I must study 6 hours in a day in order to get all straight A's. So to add that.
That's an answer. That's an answer from a cikgu lah. Cikgu Gurpreet. Thank you, cikgu. I think we have one last question for Nisha. How do I become a plastic surgeon? How long will it take to become a plastic surgeon?
Okay, my dream is to become a plastic surgeon, and I'm working towards that. So in Malaysia, if you want to become a plastic surgeon, so you have master's program in HUSM. So for you to apply for that, you must be a permanent MO first. Secondly, you must have all these prerequisite, the requirements. You must be a Malaysian citizen. And also you must have external papers like MRCS and MedEx. MedEx is a pre-examination before you enter master's program. So I just sat for it 2 days back. So if you have all this extra additional papers, then you would outshine others. When you go for the interview, they will see what you have done. Worked on any case notes and all sorts of things. I'm working on a journal right now, and the only requirement that I don't fulfill right now is I'm not a permanent MO. So I hope I'll result back in government as a permanent MO soon, hopefully, so that I can fulfill the prerequisite. And if you want to become a plastic surgeon in overseas, I think you have to, like I mentioned earlier, you have to go through all these entrance exams, and then you have to work under general surgery at least for a year. That is a requirement. And then once you have already completed the required papers, part 1 and part 2, for UK, you need to complete MRCS part 1 and part 2. And then right away, you'll enter the subspecialty. So that's how it works. And I'm not quite sure about other countries. I only know about UK because Malaysia follows the UK system. I'm not sure about Australia. I haven't done much research on that because right now I don't have the idea of migrating. So yeah, you can look through their portals and web pages and to see what's their requirements. And of course, in Malaysia, for you to become a plastic surgeon, you need 6 months of. Can you all hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, can.
Yeah, in Malaysia, you need 6 months of plastic surgery exposure and 18 months of general surgery exposure before you go on and apply for the master's program. So make sure once you have already done your housemanship, you get into plastic surgery department at least for 6 months, because you need that recommendation from the plastic surgeon. Plastic surgery committee in Malaysia is very small. So each and every one of them knows each other. Like everyone is somehow connected, and much as you could. And then, yeah, you know, that's how it works. When you have a good recommendation, when you fulfill all this prerequisite, then by God's will, you can get into the plastic surgery program. And in Malaysia, the seats are limited for plastic surgery. So it is very, very competitive, and you really have to work hard for it. That's all.
Okay, I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you so much, Nisha. I think we are at 10:41 now. We've passed 40 minutes past the 10 o'clock mark, but that shows that a lot of people had a lot of questions. I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate and thank all our speakers, Puan Sabrina from Bank Negara, Kesh from Sime Darby, and Dr. Nisha from Hospital Putrajaya. If you all be kind enough to share your email addresses, we can share that with the other participants. You just drop it to me, and then maybe I can share it with them so that they have some sort of a person that they can go to for some guidance. And thank you so much for being willing to, on a working day, take your nights off. Sabrina, puasa, I hope you had time to book up puasa and, join us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us. This is a wrap for our post-SPM series number 5. Join us for the next one. We'll be talking about government education, IPTA. Yeah, so that will be maybe next week or 2 weeks from now. All the best. Have fun. Good night. Take care.